Alrighty, hi guys, my name is Taya. I'm going to be showing you guys a step-by-step tutorial on how to complete the Wisp Weaver necklace kit. There's 2 necklaces in this kit. It's got some beautiful French filigrees that were being used, and I will go ahead and populate a quick photo of what those look like. So this is the kit we got going. This bottom dangle piece is that vintage piece that's just so gorgeous. It's my favorite part of this whole necklace. But with that, I could probably just go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so I ended up prepping a little bit yesterday so that I could make teaching a little bit easier today. So I think what I'm going to do, because this is 2 necklaces, we can just start with either one, but I think I might just start with this, with the little necklace that we got. And I'll pull that one out of the frame. So this is the necklace piece. Very, very easy and beginner techniques with some chainmail. Super, super fun, but very simple and easy as far as this one goes. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna go ahead and demonstrate really quickly these sections that I did. So I'm gonna be demonstrating one of these and then a chainmail as well. And also I added a little bit of an artisan portion where I painted this and I glued in that flower. It's totally optional whether that's something you'd want to do or not. It's just kind of whatever you're feeling, because it does look really pretty without the flower glued in there as well. So definitely personal preference. But I'm gonna go ahead and start demonstrating this guy. I did assemble a lot of them already so that you won't have to watch me do it like 6 different times. But you're gonna start with your brass eye pin that you'll get. You'll get enough of these in your kit for both necklaces. I'm going to beat that one through and add this guy right over top. I'm going to add the green. Another Hishi bead like that. And then one last of the rose gold or warm color to finish it off, just like that. Okay, and then this part, super, super easy. If you have longer fingernails, it's a little bit easier, but if you don't, that's okay. I obviously don't. So what I'm gonna do is put some pressure here, and with my top finger, I'm just gonna bend this right over my nail, just like that. And then you can hold it down and bend. I want to make sure that it's as tight as you can get it to the bead at the top. If that is zooming okay. And just like that. And then we're going to grab our pliers. Mac, what are these pliers called?
Needle nose.
These are the needle nose. So each of our pliers have this little guy that you can clip. I'm not going to clip too much off of this, just about that much. You can eyeball it, and even that might be a little bit too little. I think it's always best to clip off less than more, because you can always clip more off and you can't really glue it back on at this point. So what you're gonna do is squeeze it towards the end. Oop, hopefully that will focus for you. And then you're going to use your fingers to push this around the barrel of the needle nose like this. And then I like to take it out and look at where I'm at, so then I can face it towards me. And I'm going to fit that guy right through there again. And I'm just going to finish it off. Just bending just like that. And I like to use these ones to tighten. I hope this is clear enough. It feels like it's and I'm just squeezing it just a little bit to tighten that loop. And then if you notice that it's not lined up flat, these guys aren't lined up flat, you can hold one, secure, and twist the other. And then that way they'll lay flat and even. So that's how you're going to complete this. And this was something that I repeated multiple times throughout the necklace. So I'm just going to lay that guy to the side there. And then the other component that you'll be using with this tiny necklace is going to be the chainmail. And this one is my favorite. I love doing chainmail. There's a lot of jump rings that you'll be getting in your pack, your kit, because I kind of went a little overboard just in case you wanted to add different amounts of chainmail, whether you wanted more of it or less of it. I wanted you to be able to have the option to do that. So I'm just going to close up one of those JR20 jump rings. I'm going to take one more and loop it through. And the chainmail that I did on this small one was actually only one layer. So it's going to be a little bit easier, and then I'll show you guys how I did multiple layers. So really, all you got to do for the one layer is add 3 jump rings like this. And sometimes it can get a little bit confusing while you're working, like especially if you've been doing jewelry all day. That's a little bit tricky sometimes to see where it's the chainmail. So for this one, because it's only the one layer, something that I like to do that helps me visualize it a little bit better is to grab either a head pin, eye pin, your bead awl, and then you're just gonna let it hang just like that. So you just loop it through the middle one, and that way you can tell where the chainmail is. So we're gonna loop one more jump ring, hopefully you can see that, through those 2 at the bottom there. And you can leave it on the bead awl or eye pin, whatever you're using, if it helps you visualize it a little bit better. If you don't need to, then that's okay. You can just pull it right off. But it is sometimes nice to have that thing hanging. So I'm going to grip it here. Actually, notice that this is going to need to be a little bit wider. Grip it just like that. And I'm going to loop that jump ring through. Just like that. And then you can go ahead and close up this one. And that makes up the chainmail that we'll be using. So we use this exact thing 4 times, all along there, just like that. For the flower, I did add a little bit of our mermaid thing, Ultimate Shimmer Paint, just to add a little bit more of an iridescent component to the piece. And I wanted it to look a little bit more blue. So I'm just gonna lightly drop some of that in there. I grab a paintbrush and just pull it out. And just go ahead and coat the whole flower. Just like that. Perfect. So that's a little bit more iridescent, a little bit bluish. I really liked the tone that that ended with. So I'm gonna let that one dry for a second, and then I'm gonna start assembling. So in this kit, you'll get 2 things of chain. One is gonna be an already finished necklace, just like that, and then the other will just be a chain. And honestly, you could do either. I think it'll depend on how you're wanting to layer your necklaces. This chain, they're about the same size. This one might be like a little bit shorter. But what I did last time was I used this for the longer necklace, and then I used this for the shorter one, which I think I'm gonna do again right now. And if you wanted this to be shorter, all you have to do is just trim a little bit more. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna hold this tight, hold the lobster clasp, and pull it tight so that you can kind of see where the middle is. I do have a lot of things on my bead mat right now, but I'll do my best to make it even. So just like that, and then you can kind of separate it a little bit, and you can tell whichever link is laying more horizontal when you straighten it that way will be the one that you want to clip. So I have that middle piece just right here, And these are soldered so that they won't come undone on you. Pretty strong, but I like that they look so delicate. I think that that's really pretty. So you can do this length, and then you would be adding about 1 inch on both sides plus the dangle. Or if you wanted to, you could clip a little bit extra off, which I'll just show you. And I'm just gonna do about 5 or 6 links here. Trim, line that up there. It's gonna be right about here. Hopefully you can see that okay. It's easier to cut when you're holding it up, but I wanted you to be able to see that. Okay. And just check to make sure that those are even, which they look pretty good. Alrighty, and so now your first step, I love to use the bead awl. You might need it for this kit a few times. You also might not, but I would recommend picking this up if you don't already have it. It's such a lifesaver because really you could just use anything. You can use it for anything that needs to have a bigger hole to loop through. Whether it's like filigree or links or jump rings, whatever it may be. And all you gotta do is stick it through that first part and just pinch and rotate. Like super soft and gently, just like that. With that side, I'm gonna collect this last link here. Do the same thing, just pinch and twist slowly. And it's nice too because the bead awl kind of gives you an idea of the width that you'll get out of this, just because it's tapered at the top and you can kind of see. And if you wanted to slide a jump ring on, you could see how far it needed to be for it to go. So if you needed it to be a little bit of a wider thing, you could push it all the way down. But for us, we only need a little tiny bit. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna grab another one of these JR20s that will be in your kit. Again, you'll have a plethora of them, so you won't need to worry about running out. And then, I actually don't even need one of these, I just realized that I did it already. So I'm gonna grab one side of this link that we already did, open that up just like that. Kind of see it's still a chainmail. I'm gonna pick up the chain, probably move it from those beads there. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here, but I'm literally just going straight through with the JR20. So putting that link straight through. And I think that the JR20s will fit through the link okay without using the bead awl. I honestly didn't try, but it makes it so much easier to use the bead awl just to have that little bit extra width. It is insanely helpful. Relay that this way. Okay, and I had made up some more of these links. And see what I mean by, like when you pick it up, it's kind of hard to see where the link is the link. And so it might be nice to have something you can pull it through in order to see where you're wanting to start. And for the ones that only have one link, it doesn't really matter because it's a little bit easier to see. But on the longer necklace, I did up to 4 links, and sometimes that can get a little bit confusing when you're not holding it up very well. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold that guy and then loop it through that bottom link, just like that. And we're just gonna close and secure it. Perfect. Alrighty, and honestly, if you didn't want to, you didn't have to close to secure those. I do it just because I'm always paranoid that the jump rings will come off. But we are gonna open them right back up. So that bottom one, sometimes you do it so well that you don't know where the seam is. There's that. I'm just gonna continue to hold it with my pliers because I find that it's a little bit easier than dropping it and then losing it, especially when it's like chainmail with your jump rings. Sometimes it's easier to just hold on to it so you don't have to redo it, which I did multiple times yesterday. But I learned my lesson. Okay, so there's that one side there. Grab our second one. Find a little seam wherever it is. Okay, I'm going to continue to hold on to that with my pliers. Link that guy. Oh, looks like I need to open a tiny bit more. Right to the top. And then a little trick to get your jump rings to close well. This is something I learned recently because I am a beginner when it comes to these things. This is not something I've done for a long time, but if you grab the jump ring with 2 pliers and you put pressure on it and kind of shimmy it, like go back and forth, it'll help really well to be able to close it up and make it look a lot more seamless. Okay, now that we did that, we're gonna grab some other ones that I already pre-made. So you'll just wanna make 4 of these single chainmail, just like that. I pre-made them so that you guys wouldn't have to sit and watch me do it like 12 times. And then if you ever needed any answers or anything, or had any questions or needed it, again, you can always go back and rewind if you're watching from YouTube to be able to see exactly how it was done. Luckily, this is a pretty easy kit. Most kits that I make will be very easy because I need to be able to do them and teach them. So it's very, very beginner friendly. And I love it because it's so nice. I made this kit for my one of my best friends who lives in California. I haven't seen her in quite a while, but it was her birthday and I wanted to make her some jewelry. So I made her some earrings and some hair clips, some hair jewelry that I love to make. And like the gratification of having them send you back photos or videos, like thanking you so much, like I can't believe you made this, is really amazing. And it just goes to show that even beginners can really make some beautiful things. And it's especially nice when you have a good community surrounding you. And Facebook is a lot of really good jewelry beginning communities. I think the best one on all of Facebook is obviously Vintage. But there's some really, really good ones out there. Alrighty, so there's that. And then what we're gonna do is grab our other jump ring here. Open that guy up. And actually, we're gonna shimmy this guy through first. So sometimes you just need to kind of mess with it till it goes on, but I kind of liked that fits so securely through there, like it fills the entire punch, just because it's less likely to move and go crazy, which I really, really love. And on one end, you're just gonna grab that jump ring so it connects like that. And then you're gonna do the exact same thing on the other end. Just like that. And then just close it up. And again, that little trick, especially for thicker ones, just gonna hold both sides and kind of shimmy like this, what you can see, until you hear it kind of click and rub up against both sides like that. And then it hides the seam. And I could have even done that a little bit longer to make it a tighter seam. Okay, so here's that tiny necklace. This is what it looks like without that extra flower punch. Let's see if I could show you this way. Hopefully, pretty easy. And I made that so quick. Obviously the jump ring links will take a little bit of time, but it really is a really easy and quick necklace. So there's that without the flower. If you'd like to add the flower component, this is the best super glue. I don't know if you can see it, but it's the Loctite glue. Go back to this screen here. And all you need to do is just add a little blob of it right in the middle there. And if you wanted to, you could put the flower directly on it right after adding it, but I do like to wait just a few seconds, maybe even like 30 seconds for it to get a tiny bit more tacky, just so that when you're putting it in, it doesn't really slide around because it's not, the glue isn't as wet. It's a little bit more set and a little bit easier to adjust the flour to sit the way that you want it to sit. So just wait a few seconds for that. You can blow on it too. Don't get too close though, because super glue has a really strong smell. Alrighty, so for this part you can use pliers, you could use your fingers. I kind of like to balance it on my finger like that, and then grab this and kind of go at an angle here. So I can just let it fall right into the middle. And then you can adjust the flour however you want it to sit. Just like that. And if you wanted it to sit further back while it's still tacky, you can just push like that, and rotate it just a tiny bit. There you go. It's really cute. If you wanted to paint the centerpiece, you could also add more of that paint on top of it, but I think it matches pretty well, just the way that it is there. You could also add a different paint to that blue, just to add a little bit more contrast if you felt like it looked too much the same. But I'm gonna move this finished, well, the one I finished yesterday aside so we can look at the one we just did. Super easy, and if you wanted it to hang shorter, you could just clip off more chain, but it would hang right about there. So a little bit lower than the choker I'm wearing and a little bit shorter than the long necklace I'm wearing. Sorry, I bumped you. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna move on to the other necklace. And it's very, very similar techniques here. It's just a little bit longer. So that is what that looks like. And you can customize it however you'd like. If you don't want it to be as symmetrical, or if you want it to be more symmetrical, you could take the flower off, add the flower to the bracelet that I'll show you in a little bit. That would be really cute. But it's totally up to your personal preference. You don't have to match exactly what I'm doing here. Alrighty, so I did make up quite a few of these chain links already, but there is one that I'll need to create and that I'll show you guys here. So I've already made the link with 3, and then I've made these 2 links up here that only have 1. But these middle ones right here have 4, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those links, just like that. And I'm just going to show you how to create a big one. And it's the exact same thing. You don't really need to worry about it getting too different or tricky or anything, because it's literally the exact same thing that we did for the single chain mill, I should say. So I'm just going to start with the closed JR20, just like that. And grab some more here. Open that up. Actually, a really good way to do this too, just be to hang it just like that. Hopefully that wasn't too blurry. So I just opened a jump ring and then hung 2 of the other JR's 20s right over the top. I'm gonna shimmy those together so that closes okay. And this guy I'm gonna also tighten because I didn't close that one very well before adding it. Okay, there we go. And again, you can just grab the middle piece at that point to be able to see where your chain will start. Grab some more here. And then this one you'll want to open a little bit wider, kind of like that. Hold from the middle piece, and you're just going to loop it right through. And it's going to be this exact same technique, essentially over and over again. Gonna add another one, open it wide, because this one is also going to be going through 2 jump rings, just like that. Hopefully I'm showing this okay. Perfect, and this is where it can get a little bit confusing sometimes, because this jump ring obviously can go either way. But it doesn't matter, just wherever you're wanting it to continue, and at the end you could honestly just flip-flop. So it's a very easy, beginner friendly technique because it's kind of hard to mess up. It is hard to lose, or it is hard to keep track of where it's at sometimes though. So just like I did with the bead awl, I'm going to take one of the eye pins that I had, and I'm just going to grab hold of one of them, just like this. And then this way you can kind of keep track like that. Makes it a little bit easier to see what you're doing. So I'm going to loop this one back through, lay that down so I'm keeping track of where it's at. Grab another jump ring. And pull it through. Perfect. Okay, so now we have 3. If you can see, I'll grab this so it might be able to help. That is one thing about having short nails, it's kind of hard to pick things up sometimes. But here you can see we got 3 of the double links so far. So we're just going to add 1 more and then 1 more jump ring to finish it off. So we'll need 3 more jump rings. And I'm just going to hold it at this point. Gonna loop, make that a little bit bigger, and loop them through. I should probably be looking at this through the camera so I can see what you guys are seeing. Okay, we're gonna do 2 more jump rings. One more for the bottom here. Okay, so now we have the 4 links. And the last jump ring is just going to go through the bottom. It's okay if you lose the jump rings. Sometimes it's pretty easy to find when you hold one end of it straight. Alrighty, so we got those middle jump rings completed. I'll lay those out next to where they're going. I showed you guys these already, and these were another aspect that I added to the top. Here, let's see if I can show you, just right there. So pretty simple loops and stacking methods with the tiny beads there and the he-she beads. And then for this guy, this is a vintage bead that I pulled from a necklace cluster. It was a pretty crazy necklace. It had it was like a choker of just massive beads, and it was just all vintage and went all the way around your neck. It was pretty cool looking, I'm not gonna lie. I did like it. Probably not to wear on a daily basis, but I decided to steal the beads instead. Alrighty, so you're just gonna loop that guy through, same technique. Just gonna push that down over your nail or your thumb, whatever you've got access to. And then I like to just put my finger at the bottom here and hold the bead and then put a little bit more pressure like that so I can make sure it's really as tight as it can possibly go. And you're gonna cut, a little snip, snip. Probably could have cut that a little bit shorter. Bring it around there and then straighten it out. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, after you tighten it, it actually ended up being a good size. But sometimes when I mess up, I'll grab these wires and I'll straighten out the whole thing and just clip some more and bend it again. So you can really repeat the process and kind of go crazy with it. And you can use the same one over and over again. So as long as you cut a tiny bit off first, it really, really makes a difference because you can always fix it. But if you cut too much off, then you will likely need a new eye pin, and that is a little bit harder to remedy sometimes. Okay, so we got that guy. I made them both the same size. I'm gonna set that guy aside. And then as we go down the bead, or the chain, I've also done one like this. And I forget what Wendy said these are. I think she said mother of pearl or something along those lines. But I'm gonna slip that guy through the eye pin. I'm gonna add another Hishi bead right through there. I'm gonna add my green bead right over the top like that. Okay, and then we want to make this one as tight as possible. So I'm just gonna hold it, and that actually looks pretty good, just like that. So last time I don't think I cut enough, so I'm just gonna do little snips and check after each time so I don't overdo it. But if you've been doing this for a long time, chances are you'll be able to eyeball it really quickly and just do one snip. I'm hoping someday I'll be able to get to that point. So then just like that, I'm gonna drag it back around and finish that off there. Use this guy to tighten it. Just like that. And then as you can see, this one is laying more flat and this one's laying more vertical. So I'm gonna grab my pliers again, squeeze that side, and just twist. Just like that. All right, and the last one that we're gonna be doing is just this bottom piece. Oh, man, I always forget what this stone is called. It's like labradorite or I don't know how to pronounce it. One of those. But it's a very, very beautiful stone. And you're gonna do the exact same technique. Pushing it down, making sure it's tight. And what I mean by tight is that there's not a lot of wiggle space between your fold and the bead. Sometimes that's a little bit tricky to do, and it's taken me a long time to figure it out. And sometimes they're a little bit more loose, but honestly, it's okay. Sometimes they can still look really, really good, even when they're loose. Okay, I'm gonna snip tiny bit more. Hold it tight there at the bottom. I'm gonna wrap my bead around like that. Take it out so I can see where I'm at. And then just gonna pull it the rest of the way down. Sweet. And I always like to go in and tighten things, just to be certain that it's nice and secure. Again, I'm just gonna twist. Make sure those are laying evenly, just like that. Alrighty, well I believe that's most of what we got going there. For the filigree, we are gonna have to add a little tiny bit of a hole here. So I got these really nice hole punchers. I really recommend them if you don't have one. You could also use, I believe it's called a table punch or something similar. And wherever you want, it depends on how you want this to be hanging. If you want it to be more laying like this, then you could put the hole closer down to the base right there. If you wanted it to be hanging like this, you could put it right up here and then it would hang kind of like a little drop like this, which might actually be pretty. Maybe I'll try that today. Maybe I won't actually, because these leaves, it's definitely, you definitely can punch a hole through them, but because it's such a tinier surface and this side is curved, it's a little bit harder to center it. So I'll be showing you how to do that on the bracelet portion. It's definitely possible, but just for time's sake, I'm just gonna do it the way that I did before. But use your imagination. You can really go crazy with this guy. And I liked how it kind of hung a little bit more like that rather than straight up and down, not like that. So I'm gonna add it to the top of this little flower bud right there. I'm just gonna line it up kind of off screen so I can show where I'm placing it. Honestly, this really just takes practice, and I'm not gonna say that I'm great at it because I mess up like at least once or twice every time I'm doing a hole punch. But with the vintage French filigrees, I like to be extra careful and extra certain. So I'll just do a little tiny squeeze just to make sure that it's not gonna slip when I do my actual squeeze, just so it's tight. Like I can move this right now and it's not going anywhere. I'm just gonna clip it through just like that. And even there, I probably should have done it a little bit closer to the other end. Luckily, you can still hang things through that. But you see how I mean? Let's see if it'll work. It's so much closer to this side than it was on this one. So like I said, it takes practice, but it is very doable. And even if you mess up, that's okay. And if you're sad that you messed up and you like it's so bad that you just can't do it anymore, message me and we'll figure out a way to get you a new one so that you can still like it. Okay, and then for this guy, because they're vintage pieces, a lot of times they'll look dirty or corroded, which is kind of to be expected when you have a piece that's like 20 to 60 years old. So I'm just gonna grab my shine cloth really quick, just kind of buff out, and that'll get rid of some of the greener tones. And just kind of shine it up like that. And if you don't have a shine cloth, a little sand sponge will work just as well. Just to bring in that extra definition to the piece, and this really helps to bring out the detail in the filigree as well. Add a little bit more here. So you can kind of see the difference that made just cleaning it up. Just like that. Alrighty, and then you can paint this guy as well. I used the same paint that I did in the flower. I'll probably do that again, I think. But I think I'm going to actually go lighter this time than I did on that first one. So, just do a little bit. I only want it on the leaves this time because I kind of was thinking I would just do all the way up to the dots and then I didn't like it that much. So I'm going to make sure that I only get the leaves for this guy. Just like that. And I really like the little minimal paint look. But if you're wanting it to look more, almost like, more like a stone, you can do a bigger glob, and you could also add little resin dots if you wanted to kind of similar to what we did in the live with those earrings. Okay, so I kind of like the way that looks actually, so I'll probably leave that alone and let that guy dry. And I can go ahead and start assembling. And for this one, I'm actually going to start assembling at the base here. But you can also start at the edges because sometimes that's easier, but I just wanted to show you that you can do either one. It's one of those times you can use the bead awl to just make sure that that's pushing through well. There we go. It just took a little bit of wiggling. There's that. And actually, I just realized that that wasn't the first thing I added. So you didn't even need to do that, but I'm gonna grab my link of 3 that I used and loop that through here. You can leave that open if you like. I'm gonna close it just a bit so that that doesn't move. And then I'm gonna open this bottom chain. Usually when I'm creating the designs, I start from like the bottom up because it's easier for me to lay out the centerpieces and then add what I think would look good towards the bottom. So you can start your assembly any way that you like, but the nice part about this necklace is when you have these portions down, the beaded things and then the chainmail down, you can really just refer to the photo to see how it hangs. So we got that started, just like that. Then I'm gonna start hanging these guys and then I'll attach it to here. So I'm gonna just start right here with this bead, attach it to that guy, and then work my way up like that. These jump rings are so sturdy, so you'll probably need to use 2 pliers to open them, to open and close these guys. Just gonna loop through that on one side, grab one of these guys that we did and loop that as well. You could also turn it this way so it's green with this one on top, which I might do just for a little bit of variation. And then I'm going to go ahead and close that up. And these really strong ones, it's really nice to have this technique where you're just kind of rubbing them together until they fit and you can't see the seam anymore. The good thing about that is it doesn't take so much practice as it does time, because anybody can do it. So now we're going to hang these. Will be like this. You can see how that's starting to come together. I'm going to grab another one of those guys. Loop this through. And loop that through. Open this guy back up. And hang that blue on either side, like that. Okay, and now we're just going to start adding our chainmail. So the next portion is going to be that 4-link chain mail that we did. So I'm just going to open those up really quick. Just clip those together. go. Okay, this is how it's looking so far. And hang it the right way. Let's see. Perfect. Pull that down a bit. Okay, the next one we're gonna add are these green vintage beads. So all we're gonna do is open up the top link, slide that through. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to tighten jump rings, I've noticed, when there's so many things on the jump ring, but that's okay. There we go. Now to that section, I'm going to add another one of these jump rings and loop them through. And while that's open, I'm going to grab one of these guys, just like that, and then I'm just going to put it on the other side of it, like that. Perfect. Yeah, and I like to try to do things a little bit more simple just because I am so new to jewelry that it makes things a little bit easier. To just be able to repeat it, because sometimes I feel like I get lucky and I make something like super extravagant and it's gorgeous, and then I try to repeat it and I just can't. So I think my style is definitely more simple and elegant so far, until I probably have more practice, and then that might change. And after a little bit longer of doing this, who knows, maybe I'll get as good as Mackie someday. I don't know about that. But she did teach me almost everything I know. The rest I learned from watching lives and YouTube. So hopefully this video, being that it's a live and a YouTube video, will help somebody out. It's cool too because you can learn these techniques and use them for something else. You don't have to buy the kit in order, excuse me, whoa. You don't have to buy the kits in order to replicate it, you know what I mean? If you have similar components, things like that you'd like to add, you definitely can. Alrighty, and then so there I just added jump ring. I think I may have even added that one, a little bit funky. Oh no, we're good. Alright, from here, we're gonna be adding the little chain piece that we got. Be really quick and put my bead all through there. Open JR20. And loop that through. And then add my lobster clasp, just like that. And then these ones, you do want to make sure they're a little bit tighter, just because they're going to be the thing connecting your piece. And sometimes they break, so if things get tugged on, so it's better to have those nice and sturdy. Oh, and you know what I just realized? I usually do this portion at the end, so I'm going to take actually gonna take this off because there's an easier way to do this. I was like just thinking I was finishing a chain, but I'm connecting it here, and then that way it'll be a lot easier to know where the lobster clasp is supposed to go. So yeah, sometimes it just takes doing things to learn the easiest way to do those things. So sorry for the confusion there. You can continue that way and then just cut the necklace like we did for that little, the flower necklace portion. But this way I have found is a tiny bit easier. So I'm just connecting this last link to both sides of the chain there that we just used the bead awl to widen. Open that guy. Like trying to hold my breath while I put it through the tiny link. Sorry if you can't see that, but I'm just pulling that through. And sometimes when it gives me more trouble than I think is worth, I just do the bead awl again. Because I'm pretty sure it'll fit, but might as well not waste my time trying, you know what I mean? Okay. Maybe it'll be easier if I go like this. Sorry, this is probably not a great portion for demonstration, but all I'm doing is linking those together. All I'm trying to do, I should say.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Oh, I guess I really didn't do the bead awl enough for that. Because when I did this twice already, but just gonna pinch and twirl. Okay, that's bound to fit. It is not that large. Maybe I'm just getting sweaty hands or something. Okay. Yay! Finally! That is the one downside to delicate chains, but I just love the way they look so much. I think it's so gorgeous to have a delicate chain in your main focus be like such a huge chunk. You know, it almost makes the rest of the necklace look more expensive when the chain isn't as chunky. I don't know, maybe that's just a personal preference though. I could be totally wrong. Okay, and then in your kit you have another one of these. You can do whatever you want with it. You could add it to a bracelet, you could add it to the other kit. You could take one out of the flower and add two on each side if you want it to be more symmetrical. But you're just gonna grab your super thin jump ring there. And the place that I thought it looked the best after looping it through every single loop on the entire necklace was actually just the centerpiece of the 4 links. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can do either one, the top or the bottom. And I'm just gonna close that. And there we go. So that's what that is looking like. And then what I was saying was why it's so much easier to connect those two there is because then you can do the same thing we did earlier. Pull this tight, make sure it's even at the bottom so that you're cutting evenly. And then you're just gonna snip those guys. Use the bead awl again. I can grab that same jump ring with the lobster clasp that we did earlier. Go ahead and loop that through. And then again, you want those to be pretty tight, really, really secure. I'm gonna use the bead out one last time on this side. One more jump ring, and you might have a few jump rings left after this that you can use for whatever you like. If you want to make the chainmail a little bit longer, totally personal preference. I made the kit so that you can make it more your own and kind of customizable. Okay. And with that guy, just open up your lobster clasp. Alrighty. Let's do it through this view really quick and see. Kind of see that there. And of course you can paint more or less, however you want that to look. But it'll kind of hang there. I have a lot of jewelry on right now, so it might not look the best, but I will lay out the two pieces that we just did here. And one of these will end up going up on Vintage Live Shop Idaho as a finished necklace, whichever one looks the best and is most sturdy. And then that way, you guys can just pick up the complete necklace if you wanted to. Or you could always just pick up the kit and do it yourself, which I always think is a really fun option. So there is that. That's gonna be the Wisp Weaver. I could call it double necklace, but it's two separate necklaces, so the necklace kits.